Good morning, everyone. It's Joker, and today we are back with another slime video. And today we're going to be taking a look at the skill fusion for the very old Christmas Velzard, who, is on Festive Memories. Forces were not a thing when she came out, but she is on the Festive Memories team. She is a DPS character, however, she is an AoE unit. So all target fire physical for 300%. Until we get the EX upgrade later this month, this will stay at 300%. Hopefully it increases to 600 when she gets upgraded, but again, we don't really have any details about that. So we're going to test her out now. But first skill is her skill fusion. Previously, it was just herself on a 30% attack buff and a 40% alt buff. Now it is all Fire and Festive Memories characters getting 30% physical attack buff, and now she gets 100% alt damage. So the self buff turned into a team-wide buff, and it became physical attack instead of normal attack, and then she got an extra 60% alt damage, which is pretty impactful for a 15-point skill. So I think that's really good. She is also an orb stealing unit, only 2, but this is before the meta of 3 orb stealers came into play. So you can still find some good use for this. 5 orbs for her means that you're gonna get her ult, and since she's not an EX character, you don't need 2 ult gauges for her. But let's test her out. And thankfully, I used her previously for a different team without her skill fusion, so we can kind of look back on that and then do the comparison of damage from there. Okay, so here is the clip from my beatdown battle video using Albus, Soka, the new Redis, free-to-play Water Rimuru, and then Christmas Shizu and Velzard. This was prior to her skill fusion, so we can do a pretty good comparison of before and after. So if we go through, we can count how many stacks we actually get, so we can match it up as close as we can. So after training hits us, we have a double stack of Albus right here. And then skipping ahead to turn 3, after I do whatever I want to do, we have another stack of Albus. That brings us up to 3 stacks by turn 3. And then on the nuke turn, we're going to bring Shizu in. We have enough points, and we have 1 more Albus. So we're going to have 4 stacks of Albus. That's another 120% alt damage on top of the 30% attack and 40% alt damage that Velzard is giving herself, and then the fire buff as well, and then the AoE debuff. So both of Shizu's skills. So here, Velzard does 334k. Like, that's definitely not great. So now let's do a direct comparison and see what she hits now. Okay, so I've already kind of started up. Turn 2, we have a good hand that we can just steal with Velzard. Shizu's second skill is still not skill fused, so this is going to be the same. The only thing that we're going to change is the actual Velzard skill herself. So let's steal these. Let's go ahead and apply the 2 stacks of Albus, and then depending on what we get next hand, I guess we could just do this and make it so we're getting mostly blue, so we can try and get extra stacks. Let's see how much gauge we get off of this initially. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Not quite there, but definitely gets her ult. So maybe we'll just bank on getting it by turn 4 again. So let's just send this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So we're good here. We don't need to really do anything else with her. And this is only EX2. I don't have an orange orb changer, do I? Yeah, normally we would have Momiji. Oh well. How many points do we have? 148. Let's steal again for fun. Okay, and then let's bring in Water Rimuru for Velzard now. And then we could use his orb change. And then that just leaves the 1 orange orb that we can use Soka for. And that's how we'll get around that whole thing. And then Redis can come in. I don't think I used any extra... Well, actually, no, her Pierce power wouldn't matter because we're not actually getting Pierce on this team. So let's just send this. We can get our 2 more stacks, and then we're pretty much ready to nuke next turn, right? We have enough points because we're just going to use the 55, the 15, and the 15. Yeah, we'll be fine. So here we can do a direct comparison. So 334k when she was not skill fused, and now we'll change that up. So let's bring you in for Redis. Boom. And then buff, buff, and debuff buff. So AoE resistance down 15%, the fire buff with the 30% fire resistance down, and then the physical attack and 100% alt damage. 1, 2, 3. And then our final 2 stacks of Albus. So this is going to be another 120% alt damage on top of the 100 she's giving herself. And this should do quite a bit more damage. How much more? I don't really know, but it should do more. Can't do anything else, right? So let's just run the 1 Velzard orb, see how much that does, and then we'll send the alt. Let's make sure this is off, because this is her showcase. 32k? Alright, yeah, sure, whatever. I mean, most of this damage is coming from alt, so it's not like that's going to affect a normal orb. But after jumping around in some balls, as we all wish Velzard would do, she just crushes your balls. So she does 441 with a natural synergy. 441 with a natural synergy. Okay, well, we got to do that over then. Thanks. Okay, we're back again. Let's try it again. 1, 2, 3. This will be the 4th stack of Albus. I mean, obviously the damage is going to go down, so already not super impressed, but we don't really have that many buffs going on. We're just adding more alt on top of alt. A small 30% physical buff and an element buff and an AoE down. Like, these aren't the strongest things in the world. So this team is severely lacking in actual damage support because Rimuru and Soka and Redis aren't really providing anything. So we're down to 2 characters. So 375 is what we're at now. 375, and she did what? Let's see. Check it. 334. Okay. Well, unless I missed a stack in here somewhere and we had 5 stacks somehow, that's not really that great. Let me go back and let me do that. If not, then we'll just move on to a new team and put a lot more support around her and make her look a lot better. Alright, let's do something a bit more fun. We're going to go into Tempered Edge Clayman using a modified New Year's Blessing team because Velzard is physical, which means that she'll get guaranteed crit, guaranteed synergy from Xion, which means we can bring New Year's Millum for the synergy stuff, and then we can bring Warrior's Mind Violet for the crit stuff, ult resistance down. We brought Fire Benimaru because we need the burn and the orb change turn 1, so he's just kind of a dead unit, but he serves a purpose. And then we have Exalted Champion Rimuru. Since Velzard's no longer giving herself a normal attack buff, we brought him to give her an attack buff, and to alt swap in case we need to, because we're running an orange team. So, I mean, this will work. Plus we have our own buff, plus we can orb steal a whole bunch of oranges, hopefully. So, you know, in theory, this should make her look a whole butt ton better than the 375k that we got, which I did go back and check, and we matched everything up, and it didn't really do that much difference. So let's try and make a difference here. Alright, so turn 1 we have to burn, and then we can't bring Velzard in because Clayman will put a crit nerf on her, and we don't really need that. So let's just take Violet out because she's type disadvantage, and we don't really need her to hit him, or we don't really need him to hit her more than we need to. 47, 22, 78k, alright, cool. I mean, physical fire, Velzard to do that kind of same damage, but better. And what's the hand look like? 3, okay, yeah, we can work with that. So let's bring Velzard in. Let's yoink some Rimuru orbs out of here. Like that. And then we can use Xion to orb change all of these into oranges. Give ourselves guaranteed crit, guaranteed synergy. This will give us a guaranteed alt next turn. Let's use the future hand of oranges just so we can eliminate some RNG. Because we're going to need to store a few things. Mostly the attack buff with Rimuru when we're for next turn. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That gets her an EX alt. I mean, that's cool. Not that we can use it, but 12,000, 6,000 damage on a guard. 12,000 damage. Pretty good. It's only going to get better. Okay, there's the burn, 15k. There's that. So let's take Millum out. Yeah, we don't need her right now. Let's do the alt swap. That'll give us a rainbow orb. Let's use the attack buff. Boom. And then we'll send Velzard away. And then hopefully we have enough points next turn to use the 80-point skill, the 15-point skill, and the 40-point skill. And I feel like we should have enough points to do that. Also, let's... No, we can't do anything, so let's... Okay, well, let's pray that Violet doesn't get hit that much. 112 points, which means we actually have 142 points, which, yeah, that is enough. Math serves me poorly, but I think that works out. All right. Boom. Cool. Excellent damage, right? Am I right? Okay, Rimuru's got a lot of orbs, so we'll bring Velzard in for him. We've already used his attack buff. Cool. We'll take Benimaru out since we're not worried about his alt damage. And then we've got 1, 2, and 3. Yeah, barely enough points. But this is going to be a lot more impressive damage than we saw previously, because now we've got crit power, crit damage, alt resistance down, alt up, physical buff up, synergy resistance down, or synergy power. We've got a lot of things going for us. Synergy power and alt resistance down, which we're already technically getting from Violet, but this is a lot higher. So we're still getting synergy power. So let's do the one hit, and then the alt, and see how much we do with this setup. 42k, 460k. I mean, that is higher. It's certainly higher. I feel like I'm missing something. All right, we'll give it one more shot. I think my opinion and my thoughts are just a bit skewed because she's just an old 5-star character with a really weak alt. Like, we're used to seeing big, powerful alts, and that wasn't a stacking team. This is a stacking team. We've actually going to build the true Festive Memories team until we get the DPS character next week. Now she should look a lot better. The alt damage, the buff, the debuff, the debuffs, the buff, because it applies to her now. This should actually make it look good, and she should do millions of damage now after 8 turns, and then I should be kind of satisfied. But yeah, leading up to this, I mean, she is an AoE DPS from 2 years ago, so I think I'm just expecting a bit too much out of her placement and her damage without the EX upgrade, which we don't even know if she's going to be able to do that immediately or not. But let's use the actual Festive Memories team as you're meant to do so. Okay, we'll attempt to make Velzard look a little better than what I have failed to do pretty much this entire video. And again, I don't think it's my fault. I actually don't think it's technically Velzard's fault. I mean, 100% alt damage and 30% physical buff, I mean, I would expect a bit more out of that, but she was already giving herself relatively the same kind of level of buff. An extra 6% alt damage when your alt isn't that strong to begin with is not as impactful as, say, a single target DPS character who has a 750% or 900% EX Unbound attack alt that we have at this point in the game. So no, a 300% AoE alt being buffed by 100% doesn't really sound that great. So we have to do a lot of things to make her look good. And while the New Year's team, it did jump her damage up, and it seemed like a lot of powerful buffs. It still didn't give us that much, and that's just because Velzard is such an old unit. Once she becomes an EX character, once she has access to that 600% EX alt, this is going to change immensely. She's going to more than double her damage. Because, yeah, 300, 600, that is a buff, double. But the amount of other buffs that she's going to get alongside that, not just probably the raw stat increase from going from normal to EX, but how the buffs interact with each other when you now have a 600% alt instead of a 300% alt are going to really make an impact. So on this team, like we don't have a way to access everything on the nuke turn, because we have to hold the Shuna buff. We have to attempt to hold Maribel's weakness strike buff, but that means we can't actually use her EX alt damage, which we wouldn't really benefit from anyways here, because Velzard, again, is not an EX character. But I do want the 150% weakness strike that we can give everybody by sacrificing our barriers and then putting that on everyone. And then that will allow us to, on the nuke turn, whenever that is, use Momiji's buff, alt resistance down, guaranteed pierce, whatever small stacks of pierce power that we're going to get from Ritas, and then the actual Velzard buff itself. So this is it's gonna take a while to set up, but this team can work, minus, and it doesn't really matter that we can't use the two 90-point skills because at the same turn, because we wouldn't benefit from the full impact of the 90-point skills because Velzard can't do an EX alt to begin with. So not a super huge big deal. But we're on turn 5. We've got an alt for her already. We've used the synergy buff, so now we're able to hold that in the back on Velzard. So now what we need to do is we need to build up to 10 barriers and then sacrifice them to the gods so we can get the 150% weakness strike and then hold on to that. Which is it's gonna take a minute. And apparently Trainee, well, not apparently, we know that she hates Ritas because she's the only one that was sealed. Okay, so now let's skip ahead a little bit. Let's see, we have 1 barrier. Velzard has 5. So 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We have 9 barriers, so let's use Albus here. And that'll give us everyone another stack, so now we're at 12. And now we can sacrifice the barriers to the god. And now we have 150% weakness strike that we can again hold on Velzard in the back. So now we're holding the weakness and the synergy. And now what we need to do is we just need to build up enough points to use Momiji, which is 90 points, plus then the 15 from Velzard herself. So that's going to take a little bit of extra turn here, so we're going to skip ahead. We have 150 points now in turn 10, which is still within that 12 turn mission that the stage has, which works. And this is Inferno 1 now. She has a lot more HP, so we'll use the alt resistance down, we'll use the physical attack buff and the alt damage. We'll use 1 more stack of Albus, and we'll take a look at what we've got. We also stole a couple orbs. So we have 300% permanent alt from Albus, plus the 100 that Velzard gives herself. 10% pierce power, 50% weakness strike from alts, 50% synergy power, 150% weakness strike from Maribel. And we'll send this 85k, 132, and then the alt does, alright, after the barrier, the alt does 2.8 million damage, which, you know, is really good for a character that was only doing 400k the last round, right? So it is a huge improvement. That's a lot of extra power we've got. Unfortunately, it's not enough to kill because she has too much HP. She has like 4 million. But we did get another alt back, and we have 36 points, which means we can just nuke again, and we can use Velzard's personal buff. So we still have 400% alt damage and the 30% fizz buff, and now Velzard's able to kill it. 527. So there we go. Did we make use of her? Yeah. Is she better? Yes. Is she super great right stat now? Not really, but once she gets that, I mean, a lot of the good skill fusion characters we've received over the past couple years or so have been support units, and that's the best ones. We generally don't skill fuse DPS characters because they're just not good nowadays, because they're old 5 stars. No one gives a crap about them. The best skill fusions have been like Earth Trainee, Water Soe, Light Shizu, you know, defense skills, HP skills, some way to negate damage. These are the skills that are really good, or they're just straight up support buffs. Or Milim, like she gives alt damage, allies dark attack. Now she can do a better orb change. Like that's good. Rimuru increased his ability to support. Lumi increased her ability to support. Like most of the good skill fusions are supports. Very rarely do we skill fuse DPS units because they're so very outdated. But I think that come 17 days from now, or whatever, whenever, if they release on schedule, or if they all just batch them out, I don't know, the old DPS characters from the olden days can once again claim some significance in nuking power. And I think that when we do get to that point, Velzard will shine a lot more than what she did today. But let me know your thoughts in the comments below. That's it from me. Take it easy, and I'll see you all later.